Shalom.
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 All praises to the Most High, Josh.
Awake, O Israel Ministries. We do thank and praise the Most High.
We sure do.
Ahayah, bahashem, Yashayah, Barak. For another Sabbath and another chapter breakdown. Revelation 11.
I hope you're staying in tune with us. Be blessed with Revelation.
We don't, as we've been doing lately, we're going to share some information before we go, some information before we go on. Then we'll have our comments, and then we'll go into the lesson, and that's going to be our format for tonight. I'm going to share 12 minutes of clip. Let me share a screen. 12 minutes. So I can keep track. And
as a wolf, raving of a wolf. You ever see a wolf howl at night? That breaks down.
So hold on. We're learning about the 12 tribes, and we're learning who the tribe of Benjamin is right now. So let's make it bigger. So the tribe of Benjamin are the West Indian blacks and Jamaicans.
Jamaicans are West Indians, and how they sing, how they raven as wolves. They communicate through their songs. And you notice that the Benjamites talks about the Lion of Judah. They sing and they rave about Israel and how they would come back again as a people. Read.
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf in the morning. He shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
He shall divide the spoil. Now, if you go into history, the Maroons, which were taken down by the Europeans, the Maroons, which was an African tribe, which was Benjamin, ended up taking down the ship, taking the gold and spoiling the ship, and turning the ship back. Yes, the Benjamites are known for their short temper, and they don't like to be forced into anything. So it was hard for the Europeans to take them down. Eventually they took them down, but it lets you know the Benjamins, they're very tough. They're very strong-willed people. Go to Deuteronomy 33 and 12.
This is good. Listen up, folks. Listen up.
Deuteronomy 33 and 12.
It's apple proof, Joshua.
Read.
And of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, and the Lord shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders.
To let you know that Benjamin is protected by the Most High. They're one of the tribes that still held on to a lot of their heritage. So out of all the tribes, you notice Benjamin is all, normally they speak about Israel. Now they go off, going into the Haile Selassie. That's what they go off at, saying that Queen Sheba had a child with Solomon, and that through Haile Selassie we are Jews, or going into the Ethiopian or Phoenician understanding. That's incorrect. When you go into 2 Kings 17, it lets you know that Hamites were put in the land instead of the children of Israel. That's how the Hamites got there. So the spirit in Benjamin is correct, trying to hold to your heritage of Israel, but you're going about it the wrong way. You're going through Haile Selassie. Then you're using drugs like marijuana and all that to become spiritual. You don't need that. It's already in you. You don't need marijuana and getting high to bring out your spirituality. Your father Jacob in the Bible told you what will befall you.
That's right.
The tribes of the Maroons. Raven as a wolf. You're spiritual people. So now you have to come back into the fullness of being who you are, opposed to still looking at Africa as your homeland. You didn't start in Africa. You started in Israel. You ran into Africa in 70 AD. See, once the kingdom was split, Judah was left. You had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi still there in the southern kingdom until the Romans under Vespasian and Titus took you down, and you ran into Africa in 70 AD. That's how you got taken into the West Indies. That's how the Haitians got taken into Haiti. Or Levi got taken into Haiti. And that's how you Negroes came over here to the Americas. How do you prove that? Go ahead and go to Deuteronomy 27. Deuteronomy 27 and 1.
And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day.
So God gave the commandments to Moses when the Israelites came out of Egypt. He didn't give you religion. He gave Israel laws, statutes, and commandments contained in this book. Let's go to the next precept, Deuteronomy 28 and 1.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So the Lord told his people Israel, if you follow these laws I'm giving you, these laws will separate you from the heathens. If you do this, I will set you up over all the nations of the earth. You are my people. So I'm going to give you rules. And through these rules, you will be a light to the world. You will teach the whole earth how to follow me. But something happened. Read the 15th verse.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
But if you don't listen, you will be cursed. You got your choice, Israel. You can get the blessings or you can get the curses. And you can guess what side Israel ended up choosing.
They refused to turn.
The curses. Read the 15th verse again.
So the curses.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
All these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now, when you read the whole chapter, these curses really encompasses the whole 12 tribes. But we're going to pull out what happened to the darker tribes like Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. How did they get here to the Americas? How did Benjamin get to the West Indians of Trinidad and then Jamaica and the West Indies? How did the tribe of Levi get into Haiti? How the Negroes get to the Americas? Yes. And there was a high percentage of Judah that also was taken into Brazil. Just a small percentage went into Brazil, but Judah is down there too. Some of them. Let's read the prophecy of them coming over here in cargo slave ships. Read the 68th verse.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
With what?
With ships.
With ships. With ships. The only people that went into slavery with cargo slave ships is the Negroes here in America. The Negroes that were taken, the black people that were taken to Haiti, and those that were taken to the West Indies. I will bring you into Egypt a second time with ships. Now, mind you, that word Egypt only means bondage. That original land mass was Montezorian or Mizraim.
Because you can walk in
Mizraim.
In Egypt.
So it was called Egypt by the Greeks.
It doesn't mean that.
They seen the Great Pyramids and say, listen, this place must have been built with hard bondage. So they called it Egypt, which means bondage. So the Lord shall bring thee into bondage a second time with what?
With ships.
Further proof that that word means bondage. Go ahead and get Exodus 13 and 3. Or what you have, and we're going to get Exodus 13 and 3 to show you that that bondage, that Egypt means bondage. Make sure you hold your place, okay? Exodus 13 and 3 to prove that point. Read that.
And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Out of the what?
Out of the house of bondage.
Egypt means the house of bondage. Now go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Read that.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
He shall bring you into the house of bondage again with ships. There's no place in biblical history showing Israel going back to physical Egypt.
That's right.
That's talking about a condition.
Mm-hmm.
A condition. You shall go into Egypt a second time with what?
With ships.
With ships. This place we're in is spiritual Egypt.
That's right.
So these people that took over this land used the same children of Israel that built ancient Egypt to build modern or spiritual Egypt. All right? Hold that. Further proof before we go there, go to Revelations 11 and 8. Revelations 11 and 8.
You read this.
Read that.
Listen to this.
And that dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city.
So they're going to be in a dead state, which we are in. Go ahead.
Which is spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
It's spiritually, this place is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt.
Why Sodom?
Sodom,
Homosexuality.
because the same sodomy is going on that went down in ancient
That's right.
Sodom and Gomorrah. So is this physically Sodom and Gomorrah? No. But the same homosexual lifestyle is being practiced that was practiced in ancient Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's spiritually Sodom. Why does the Bible call this place spiritual Egypt? Because the same people that served in ancient Egypt is served in here. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
With what?
With ships.
With ships. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
To let you know that this is the last captivity for the children of Israel. After this captivity, Israel will not see slavery ever again. Israel was in slavery in Babylon, in ancient Egypt, Babylon, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. All the nations enslaved Israel up until America today. You even have the Asians have took over some of Israel. And we're going to go into that in the South Pacific. All the nations have taken advantage of the children of Israel. You have Hamitic people, Edomite people, Persian people, Asian or Japhetic people. All these people have taken advantage of Israel at some point. But this is our last captivity. Read.
And there you should be sold unto your enemies.
There you shall be sold unto your what?
Your enemies.
So the same people that Israel used to war with in the Old Testament, which were the enemies of Israel, have now become their slave masters. The Lord says, there you shall be sold unto your enemies. On what? Auction blocks. Sold to Mr. Kennedy down in Rhode Island. Sold to Mr. Washington here in Pennsylvania.
All right. So you have an idea.
So the tribe of Benjamin are the West Indian blacks and Jamaicans who came from the Maroon tribe in Africa.
It's all in Genesis 49, Deuteronomy 33, Leviticus, where, Josh? Leviticus.
The curses?
Yeah.
26.
26. Now, I know a lot of you Christians have been taught that Deuteronomy 28 is about tithing. Curses will come on you if you don't tithe. If you believe that, you are really ignorant. You are ignorant people out there, unlearned people. Don't you know why the Christian pastors are telling you not to read the Old Testament? Now do you know why? All right, Josh, because they don't want you to know who you are. And if you don't think it matters, well, that's pretty sad for you. But it does matter.
So now, chapter breakdown time.
All right.
Revelation 11.
Revelation 11.
And 1.
Let's open our Bibles, everyone, at home here and abroad. We can't thank the Most High enough for sending viewers. We've grown considerably in the last 4 or 5 months. And we thank the Most High that He's sending people with hungry spirit, hungry persons, hungry people who want truth. Revelation 11, verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court, which is about the temple, leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles.
So it is given to the Gentiles. So letting you know, the people that are ruling in Israel today are
The Gentiles.
Are the who?
Gentiles, and not the Hebrews.
They are Gentiles. Read.
And the holy city shall they tread underfoot 40 and 2 months. And you can get that precept in Luke 21, 18, 19, all the way down. Tread upon foot 40 and 2 months, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses.
Okay, let's go. Let's get the precept for everybody.
The 2
Let's go
witnesses.
to Second Kings 17.
Was it again, Josh? 2 Kings what?
17.
17.
17, 2 Kings 17, 18.
18. Okay. All right. Tony, you got it? Everybody have it? Okay. Ready? This is the precept. 2 Kings 17, 18. Therefore, the Most High was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Ahayah only.
So
Judah.
the two witnesses are, according to the Bible, right? According to the Bible,
That's
everybody,
right.
are Israel and Judah, the 2 kingdoms that the Most High split in 2 Kings 17. Read.
Also, Judah kept not the commandments of the Most High, their power. See, they didn't want to listen to the Most High. That's why they fell. But walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made.
Read.
And the Most High rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight.
Read.
And that's where you are today.
Read.
For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jehoram, the son of Nebat, king, and Jehoram drave Israel from following the Most High, and made them sin against a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jehoram, which he did. They departed not from them until the Most High removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
So that is how we got the two prophets. We're about to. So the 2 prophets are the two kingdoms of Israel. Again, that's in 2 Kings. You can get that understanding. 2 Kings 17, 18, starting with. So back to Revelation 11 and 3.
Okay, Revelation 11, verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. Now we just gave you the precept. And they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
And that's what they've been doing. They've been prophesying since the Most High started waking them up in the late 80s and 90s. Read.
These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the Most High.
Read.
Of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeded out of their mouth and devoured their enemies.
So let's get the precept. What is the fire?
On verse 4. Okay.
Hebrews.
Hebrews. Okay.
4:12.
All right. Hebrews 4:12. don't have, yeah, I got 4. Okay, I got 4. Hebrews 4:12.
Hebrews.
Ready? For the word of Ahayah is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the mind.
So, in other words, the Most High is restoring the knowledge of his people, and they're able to devour or go against all the false doctrine that has been taught to them, since now that the truth is out. There's no hiding it no more.
Okay.
Back to Revelation 11.
All right, 11,
5.
I think 5, yes. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth, and devoureth their enemies.
Read.
And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood.
Read.
And to smite the earth with all the plagues as often as they will.
Read.
And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit, the world government, the elite, that Satan's using, shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. And their dead bodies, now these are the tribes now, shall lie in the street of the great city.
Now, how did they overcome them to get them in this condition? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:68. Let's see how the heathens overcame the 12 tribes. Deuteronomy 28:68. Oh, 28. Hold on.
Deuteronomy what? 28, Josh?
68.
All right, 28:68. Okay.
Actually, read 64, then 68.
Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 28, 64 first. And the Most High shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, the cross, wood, and the stone, the Mecca stone.
Islam.
That's
68.
Right. 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So we know slave ships, Deuteronomy 28.
That's right. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Or redeem you out of this slavery, because the Most High is going to do that.
That's right.
Revelation, what verse are we in?
7.
11 and 7?
Right.
Hold on. 11?
No, we're in 8, Josh. 8. Revelation 11:8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets.
Now, why are they dead? Go to Jeremiah 17:4. How? Now, this isn't physical dead. They're spiritually dead.
Come on.
Now, of course, everyone knows.
Right, they're spiritually dead. That's right.
They're spiritually.
But they're waking
dead.
up now. See, the whole world of the Hebrews are waking up now. That's the awakening. There's no Christian awakening. What is it, Josh? Jeremiah what?
17:4.
All right, so Jeremiah 17:4. Prove all things. And thou, even thyself.
Wait. So we're breaking it down, right?
Yeah.
It said in Revelation 11 and 8 that they're dead bodies. Now, we're going here to prove that's not speaking about necessarily a physical dead body laying in the street. We're going here to show you that you can be alive
and spiritually
dead.
That's right. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue.
So what?
Discontinue.
So discontinue means to stop or to
halt.
To
That's
halt
right.
from. Read.
From thine heritage.
So a heritage is your culture, dress code,
Everything.
diet,
Right.
spiritual laws, music.
That's right.
This is what America has done in the Western world, has caused the children of Israel to stop off from.
That's right. Read. That's why they don't want you to read the Old Testament. That I gave thee.
That who gave you?
That I gave thee.
That man gave you.
That I gave thee.
So we apparently see that God has given the children of Israel a heritage, but the Western world powers, the so-called Edomites, I mean the so-called white man, have given them a false heritage, a false name, a false customs, false religion. Read.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies.
Thy what?
Thy friends.
Thy what?
Thy friends.
Thy what?
Thy friends.
Thy what?
Enemies. In the land which thou knowest not. America.
Read.
For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Now wait. Now burn forever means, that doesn't mean forever. If you decide to come back and keep the law and the Sabbath and the holy days, these curses will come off you. And then you'll truly know who you are. Let me say something, Josh. I met a man and his family in Walmart today. He was a very nice man, but I told him who he was. He started, you know, like they all do. Aren't we all the same? White people? I said, yes, in a way we are. We are his creation. But you're greater than anybody because you don't sense that because of what happened to you in the fall of your people. When I told him that, you know what he said to me? He said, wow, brother, you really just humbled me.
Read.
Wait, I'm trying. I know, I want to share some. Wait. And this is where we're at in Jacksonville with our ministry. We're meeting so many tribe people that don't sense who they are because they've been lied to by the Christian church. Okay, where are we going?
Go to Revelation 11:8 and read it again.
Right. Revelation
again. Read.
8.
11 verse.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called.
Hold on. Another precept, right fast.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me look it up right fast.
I hope you're being blessed with these precepts because you can't understand Revelation unless you have precepts.
Isaiah 51:20. Let's get another precept proven.
Isaiah 51:20.
These dead bodies is not literally dead.
Come on.
This is speaking about a spiritually dead state.
Wow.
51:20.
51:20.
Right there.
Isaiah
51:20.
So everyone can read it.
Yeah, take your time.
Isaiah 51.
You got one there. 51, Josh.
I know.
All right.
Isaiah 51.
Now don't lose track of the precept we're giving you now.
Let me get it. 20. Read. Isaiah 51:20.
Ready? Here it is. Thy sons have fainted.
Thy what?
Thy sons have fainted.
In other words, thy sons are dead or dying. They're in a
blind.
They're in a withered spiritual
That's
state.
right. They lie.
What?
They lie at the head of all the streets.
In other words, what people usually congregate at all the heads of the streets? The so-called Negroes.
That's right.
And Latinos, right?
As a wild bull in a net.
In other words, they're like straining at a net, right? They're trapped.
They are full of the fury of the Most High.
In other words, they don't know who they are.
The rebuke of the Most High.
And they're filled with the rebuke of their God.
Wow.
So let's just read that scripture again to get.
Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in a net. They are full of the fury of the Most High. The rebuke of the Most High.
Read. Back to Revelation
9.
9. Okay.
Hold on.
11, 9 is
9, yeah.
11.
9.
9.
11 and 9, right?
Yeah.
9.
Revelation 11:9. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. That has nothing to do with 3.5 years of the tribulation. And shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them.
Wait, you didn't read not 8.
Yes, I did.
Hold.
Finish 8, right. Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Now, this Sodom
Sorry,
and Egypt is America. Now, how do we
Right.
know that?
Come on, brother.
Now, this is what you have to do to break down. Go back in these videos. Always have a pen and a pad and write these precepts down so you can.
Now you combat other Christians who try to tell you different.
The precept to show you this is America, Revelation 18. Revelation 18, get around verse 7.
Where?
18 and 7.
Revelation 18:7.
Wait, is that the right one? Hold on. I think that's what I want. Hold on. 7. 17. 18. Revelation 18 and 7.
18:7. Okay, Revelation. You sure you want that, Josh?
Yeah.
18:7.
18.
All right, ready? How much she had glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her mind, I sit a queen and am no widow.
Now, who is this queen?
Come on.
The asterisk statue in New York Harbor.
That's right.
Identifying New York City as the head of Babylon.
Come on.
Or Sodom and Egypt.
That's right. And am no widow.
So they say, well, we'll always have people coming to us. We'll never be.
Right. Yeah.
We'll never be a widow.
Right. Yeah. I like that, George. And am no widow and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come.
Shall her what?
Plagues.
What?
Plagues come in one day.
What?
One day.
Read.
Death.
What?
Death.
Blessing.
Death.
Mercy.
Death.
Read.
Mourning. Famine.
What?
Famine.
Read.
And she shall be utterly burned with
She shall
fire.
be what?
Utterly burned with fire.
Blessed.
That's America. Utterly burned with fire.
For strong is the Most High.
Ahayah, who judgeth her. I want to say something real quick. Listen, I don't know if you noticed there's this jet show today in Jacksonville. You see how America's government is trying to portray that you're protected and they're over the world, defeating other countries and sending our people there coming back lame, no legs and arms.
Go on.
Those same jets that you're hearing today are going to be the jets who are going to bomb America, and you can count on it. All right, Josh, where are we?
11:9.
11:9.
At 10, I think.
11:9, Josh.
11 and
9, yeah.
9.
And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another.
Now.
Wow.
So that's what's happening. Everyone's trading, buying gifts while they're in celebration of captivity. Now, what were the original gifts that they gave to one another and made merry with? According to the scripture, right? Deuteronomy 28:32.
Deuteronomy 28:32.
What were the original gifts that they gave to each other?
Wow. Deuteronomy what, 32, John?
28,
28,
32.
28, 32. Sorry. All right, Deuteronomy 28, verse 32. Ready? 31. Here we go. 32. Deuteronomy 28, 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
So the original gifts were you. And we know the slave masters would buy you, and
Come
as
on.
well,
That's right.
they would give you as gifts to on their birthdays, and they would give you as gifts to their family.
Wow.
Their slave owners. They would give you as gifts on their birthday to their families. Read.
Wow. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
Read.
And there shall be no might in thine hand, the fruit of thy land, and
Right.
all thy labors.
Stop.
All right.
Revelation 11.
12, right? Or 13? 13, Tony?
10.
11, I think.
11, right. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet.
Stop. So what the spirit of life is, back to the Bible. What is that referring to? Hosea 1:10.
Hosea 1:10. Hold on.
The truth is the truth.
That's right. Hosea 1:10. Hosea 1:10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people.
What place is that? The Western Hemisphere, America.
Come on. There it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power.
Hosea 6:1. Hosea 6:1.
Hosea 6:1. The Most High, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. In the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
Back to Revelation.
Wow. Wow.
Read verse 11 again. Hold on. Revelation 11:11. Hold on.
11:11. Okay. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from
The Ruach, the Holy Spirit.
that's
Read.
right, from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them, which saw them.
So the nations are the system, the governments are afraid and fearful of what they know is coming once they came back to the knowledge of their book, of the scriptures,
that's right.
So they are in great fear of this miracle that they're seeing unfold right before their eyes. Read.
And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, a chariot.
Read.
And their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake. And the 10th part of the city fell. That's America. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the power of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly.
Read.
The seventh trumpet. And the seventh angel sounded, And there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Most High and of Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before the Most High on their seats, that's the 12 tribes and the apostles, fell upon their faces and worshiped the Most High, saying, we give thanks, O Most High Power, Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come.
So the nations are, the rulers of these nations are angry that the Most High is coming to save his people from them.
Come on.
Read.
And the time of the dead, and they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints.
The saints,
What's
right?
this? And them that fear. Now, why did he mention saints and prophets and them? You know who them are? All the Gentiles who are going to keep the law, the prophets, Christ, the feast, and them that fear thy name, small and great. Okay. And shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of the Most High was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. You know, that's the last thing.
So
who's he coming back for?
Good chapter.
Who's he coming back for? His people. Who's his people? The saints.
Well, there's saints to 12 tribes.
Not the 12 tribes. Then, and them who fear his name. What's his name, Josh?
Ahayah.
It ain't God. It ain't Jesus. Those who fear his name. Ahayah, acaad, Ahayah. I am that I am. Not Jesus. Yashayah. We're going to bring a thorough message soon through the Apocrypha and the Word and show you that Christ is black. And they changed his visage and his color to fool the world. They did a good job, didn't they, Josh? But guess what? The truth is here now.
So now we're going to go into our clips.
Oh, what's that? It's good. All right. We're going to show you something that you're really going to be blessed.
We're gonna start with 14 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Now.
So they despise my people and no longer regard them as a nation.
And take your time now with this, because this is learning now.
The black woman has become so defiled in her way to where she has completely forgotten the ways of Elohim. Many of us, we conform to this world and we think that because we're Christians,
come on,
that the Most High is going to look at the deeds that we do in our body and he's going to excuse these deeds because we call ourselves Christians. But this vileness that has crept into the so-called black woman's life and in her mind and her body is one of the reasons why the Most High has allowed his curses to take over. When you look at what the scripture says, it says that our women are going to be bald, that they're going to not have husbands, that their ways were going to be just unstable. Their lives were going to be unstable. Now, the same with the black man. The black man is being killed in record numbers, shot dead in the streets like dogs. No regard for his life. And when you look at our children, the Most High said, because you reject knowledge, I'm going to reject you and your children.
Right, that's right.
And when you look at the fact that our children are being killed in the streets, our men are being killed in the streets, our women are being killed in the streets, our old and our young, you have to look at what is causing this. But many of us refuse to face the facts of what has brought us to this place. Now, it's in the word. The scripture tells us, you know, it tells us that if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin and heal their land. But our people ain't doing that. Instead of turning from their wicked ways, you know what they do? They turn to excuses. They say, don't judge me. Who do you think you are? You can't tell me what to do. Literally what they're doing is they're shooting the messenger, because the Most High in his word has told you to do these things. And when you have someone else trying to tell them, this is what you must do to repent. You must turn away from your ways and turn back to the ways of the Father.
That's right.
Stop
Come on.
going after your own righteousness
Haven't
and
been telling
consider
you
the
this stuff?
righteousness of the
Everyone,
Most High. Then you can get healed in your land, healed in your body, healed in your mind. But our people are saying, nope, I don't hear what you're saying. I don't receive it, and I will not do it. And so as long as we have that attitude, the Most High is going to continue to take that spiritual belt and whoop the hell out of us.
Come on, sister, that's right. Or you say no and harden your heart when you hear
I
church.
was addicted, afflicted, and so caught up in my spirit. I was bound by the chains and searching for fame. Stuck on a lost train with my energy drained, just trying to maintain as the pendulum swings in this Babylonian Egypt, trying not to complain. I was praying to white Jesus when Yashayah heard me. Though here white is clean and black is portrayed dirty. When this world said I'm nothing, my God said I'm worthy. Once trapped in delusion, now fly like a birdie. That means I'm above all the lies of the devil. One time defined by the confinements of Christianity. Now for y'all, I'm a rebel. Hopping over the obstacles placed in front of me, this race of righteousness. Yeah, I'm ready to see it's more to the image that's been painted and been pushed. Although we beat Israel, they told us we were cush. They told us that our history started on the back of some bus. And when the Most High said cry out loud, they said quiet and hush. So I'll lift up my voice and I'll yell in our streets, walking in the statutes and commandments of the most holy Elohim. And you might just need to pinch yourself, because this is not a dream. This here is reality. I'm no Martin Luther King. I'm not joining hands with wickedness, not letting freedom ring. And how subtle was the serpent to make peace and evil scheme? If you say that you believe in God, you must believe his word. So-called Jesus never came in peace. He came to bring his sword. You see, the Most High created us a holy people. He created us above all, and he made no other equal. This is meat, not milk, not for the weak nor the feeble. When the world said you see through, Most High said I see you.
Did you hear that? That's where you are today. If you refuse to turn and to not to be ashamed that you're a Hebrew. This is nothing what's going to happen to your families.
They that hate you shall
And then I remember talking to my
Stop
grandmother
that.
once.
Go back, Josh. Let him see
I
that.
go down there
Let him
every
see
year.
that. Let him see it, Josh.
And
That was too quick. Go back.
okay,
Those that hate you will reign over.
selling fish. And I would notice that
Oh,
grandma
those that
would
love
stand
you.
on the porch when they would come up and they would say, Easter, you want some fish today? And she would go, now sometimes it might be a child of 12 or 13. And her reply would be, yes, Mr. Johnson, I think I will get some fish today. And I'm sitting there looking. Did I just hear him refer to my grandmother by her first name when we were taught to be very respectful of elders, Mr. and Mrs., or, you know, you had to be respectful. And here this young Caucasian boy is referring to my grandmother, who was well up in age, as Easter. So I asked her one day, I said, Grandma, I waited a little longer to ask her. And I said, Grandma, why do you talk to him? How did I put it? How do you answer him by Mr. and you're the elder? And her reply was, baby, it's just the way it is.
I used to take two of my children to speech therapy, and the youngest one, she began to act out and misbehave in the place of business where we were. And I made her sit down on my lap because, you know, it's a public place. There's not so much that you can do, especially when, you know, there's other people sitting around watching the behavior of their child. And she got upset and she smacked me in the face. So I grabbed her hand and I said, you know, don't do that. You know, you don't hit mommy. You don't hit mommy. And she took her free hand and punched me on the other side of the face. So I said, oh no, this has to be dealt with. At that very moment, my other child was done with his speech session, so we left. We went out to the car, and I disciplined her at the car. Now, just little regular 1, 2, 3. You know, you don't do that to me. You know, I'm your mother. You know, what you're supposed to do. Your child is not supposed to hit you. They have to understand at very young that they cannot put their hands on you. And at that very moment, I was approached by this woman, white woman, and she's got her hand in my face, and she's, I saw you, I saw what you did, I saw what you did. And I said, but you don't even know what happened. I don't care, you're crazy. She starts calling me, you know, all kinds of names and things. So we get into an argument in the parking lot, because I said, my kids are standing here, I can't allow them to see this woman chastise me for doing what I know is correct. She doesn't know what happened or why I disciplined my child, and she just, you know, came at me very roughly, like I was a child. And she tried to call the police on me, so I left. And then the next thing I know, 3 police cars come flying in front of our house, and I just told my husband what happened. So they come through there. They asked me to pull my daughter's pants down. At the time, she was 2 years old. They asked me to pull her pants down. They're putting flashlights on her and things like that. And they look and they say, "Yeah, we got a call that you assaulted a child." And I said, "Assaulted?" I said, "No, I did not assault anyone." And I explained to the police officer what happened. And he said, "Well, we got to send this to." He had to send it to his boss, and then I make it a phone call. I never did, but that situation, it bothered me because I said this lady had no clue what happened, and she called the police and said that I assaulted my child, and I was upset. I was angry about it for a very, very long time, and I never saw her again. Thank goodness. But that was a situation that stuck out to me when I began to read Deuteronomy 28. And I said, wow, because their children act out all the time. And my child did something to me that she didn't see what happened. And the first thing she does is call the police on me and says that I assaulted my child. That could have gotten all of my children taken away from me over a situation that had to be dealt with at the moment that it was done, because she was 2. If I wait till we got home, she wouldn't know why I was disciplining her. So it had to be done at that moment, and I didn't abuse her. It was 1, 2, 3 smacks on the leg, and then I was speaking to her. So that was a situation that I had that reminds me of one of the curses, that we are under their rules and nothing that we do is going to be correct, no matter how wrong it is. You know, for an example, your child does something to you, it's almost like you can't even say anything to your own children.
Now, one of the punishments that the Most High said he was going to put up on us because of our disobedience, because of our total disregard of his laws, statutes, and commandments, he said those that hate us shall rule over us. Now, we have some ancient enemies who have a perpetual hatred for us. That the Most High said this perpetual hatred was going to burn in them forever. And so we see that playing out. But the Most High has allowed them to be a rod of correction for us, because we refuse to take heed to his word. You see, we refuse to take heed to his word because we have established our own righteousness. And so therefore, the Most High said, if you walk contrary unto me, I'm going to walk contrary unto you. And so that's why the Most High has turned his back on us. The word actually said that. He says, if you walk in your own way and you disregard my ways, I'm going to show you my backside. And so that's what the Most High is doing. He is showing us his backside. He said, you're going to look at the back of my head because I'm going to totally ignore you when the day of trouble comes upon you. This is why we as a people have got to repent. We have got to stop making excuses, because all of the things that you see playing out in the so-called Black community, it's like a vicious, never-ending circle of judgment, because we have a vicious, never-ending circle of disobedience.
That's right. That's right. Very good. Very good.
He separated my shoulder and I had to have surgery. I had over 30 bruises on my body. Right now at 5, a woman files a lawsuit against a Louisville police officer and Metro government. Good evening, I'm Vicki George. The woman says an off-duty officer used excessive force and it all stemmed from a parking dispute. WLKY's Annalisa Gale is live at police headquarters with details of this lawsuit. Annalisa?
Vicki, the incident happened in August of last year. LMPD has already investigated and reprimanded the officer, but the defendant in this case says it's something that continues to haunt her. Antoinette Houston says the time is around 3 a.m. in August of 2013. She made a stop at the Thorntons on Bardstown Road to grab a snack, but she says she left with injuries that have kept her out of work for more than a year.
I went in, I pulled up and I pulled up crooked, and a man pulled up behind me and asked me why was I parked that way.
That man was an off-duty LMPD officer, Scott Sturgeon. According to Metro Police, Houston was parked in a handicapped parking spot. She was asked to move her car, which she did, but then one of her tires was over the line. Houston says that's when the officer, Sturgeon, insisted to see her driver's license. Houston claims she did nothing wrong.
I asked him, why are you harassing me? I haven't done anything.
Houston says her 9-year-old son was also in the car with her, and she was fearful of the officer, so she called 911 for another officer. She says as she waited for other police, the officer demanded her license nearly 3 times, but she says she refused to hand it over until backup showed up. But the officer didn't wait.
I did tell him that I was afraid of him and that I needed someone else, but it didn't matter. He just reached in my car really quick, opened the door from the inside, and he snatched me out.
That's when surveillance footage shows Houston being taken over to the officer's car. According to Officer Sturgeon, he feared Houston was driving under the influence, but Houston says she told him she doesn't drink.
The police officer handled her like she was a rag doll.
He separated my shoulder, and I had to have surgery. I had over 30 bruises on my body.
She's continuing to suffer. And so I'm just trying to get justice for her, whatever that may be.
Officer Sturgeon was reprimanded for violating the standard operating.
All right, so go ahead, Josh.
Before we close, we're going to show.
Wait, you want to say something about what you?
No.
Okay.
Your enemy shall rule over you. That's what.
That's it.
That's it.
It's, you know, see.
What else more is there to really say?
Yeah. You know, it's so sad that your people will not listen, like that sister said. You close your ear to all truth. Seen from 12 years a slave. It's true, Mary. Until they admit and come to their senses of who they are, it's going to continue. It's going to get worse, Tommy.
14 minutes, so it's now.
Did you hear that? Strike.
Please listen, really listen.
That nigga that don't obey his Lord, that's his master, you see? That there nigga shall be beaten with many stripes. Now many signifies a great many. 40, 100, 150 lashes.
I want to say this while you're listening. A lot of these Negroes, not all of them,
No.
some of them knew who they were.
That's scripture.
Some of them.
The Lord said the fear of
That's right.
shall be on every beast of the earth.
After this, you'll see if you break legs again.
The transatlantic slave trade began around the mid-15th century, where Portuguese interests in Africa moved away from the fabled deposits of gold to a much more readily available commodity.
Holding the cross on. You see this?
By the 17th century, the trade was in
These are
full
Christians.
swing, reaching a peak toward the end of the 18th century. It was a trade which was especially fruitful, since every stage of the journey could be profitable for merchants. The infamous
You don't want to
triangular
hear the
trade.
truth today? Christians get violent.
United States presidents owned slaves. When George Washington took over Mount Vernon at age 22, there were 18 slaves. When he married, he gained control of 200 more, which technically belonged to the estate of his wife's first husband. By 1786, he owned 216 slaves. Thomas Jefferson inherited many slaves. His wife brought a dowry of more than 100 slaves, and he purchased many more throughout his life. At some points, he was one of the largest slave owners in Virginia. In 1798, Thomas Jefferson owned 141 slaves, many of them elderly. One of Thomas Jefferson's slaves was Sally Hemings, allegedly the half-sister of his deceased wife. During TJ's presidency, a rumor appeared in print that she was his mistress. Thomas Jefferson denied this story, which was also passed on as Hemings' family tradition. The youngest of Hemings' 6 children, and the only one whose paternity can be traced through DNA, definitely descended from the Jefferson line, either through TJ, his brother Randolph, or one of Randolph's sons. James Madison grew up in a slave-owning family and owned slaves all his life. He did not free his slaves in his will. James Monroe inherited a slave named Ralph. When he owned the farm Highland, he owned 30 to 40 slaves. Andrew Jackson bought his first slave, a young woman, in 1788. By 1794, his business included slave trading, and he had purchased at least 16 slaves. In the 1820s, Jackson owned about 160 slaves. He did not free his slaves in his will.
Good Christian president.
John Tyler owned slaves and was quoted saying, "God works most inscrutably to the understanding of men. The Negro is torn from Africa, a barbarian, ignorant, and idolatrous. He is restored, civilized, enlightened, and a Christian." In 1847, Zachary Taylor owned more than 100 slaves, and he supposedly never sold
You had
a
the
slave.
true power until you came here.
Other presidents that owned slaves include Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, James K. Polk, Ulysses S. Grant. Why did the trade begin? Expanding European empires in the New World lacked one major resource: a workforce. In most cases, the indigenous peoples had proved unreliable. Most of them were dying from diseases brought over from Europe, and Europeans were unsuited to the climate and suffered under tropical diseases. Africans, on the other hand, were excellent workers. They often had experience of agriculture and keeping cattle. They were used to a tropical climate, resistant to tropical diseases, and they could be worked very hard on plantations or in mines.
No, I've often said that thank God for slavery, because, had not, then the blacks who were here would have been stuck in Africa. And you see how bad Africa is. Everybody, mama, trying to get out of Africa and come to America.
You thought God
was
was
looking out for folks, and he made it possible by way of slavery to get black folks into this country.
Did you hear that? That's a Christian brainwash.
Christianity has been misused for hundreds of years to keep your people in subjugation. And I'm speaking now of reality that the history books do not record, but history that Christianity was used because if I said, okay, you don't believe the way I believe, and Christianity is the best way to believe, so I'm going to take you, and it's going to be for your own good. It's going to be for your own good. I'm going to take you, and I'm going to tear away everything about you, and just keep your hands and your feet, because they can help getting off. But I'm going to do this for your own good, because I'm going to give you a God. Man, what does that God look like? The reality of it is, when he came here, he didn't look like me. So what am I going to do about that? I'm gonna make him look like me. So for hundreds of years.
So they changed the image so they could use this image to enslave you, to keep you under them.
That's right.
We've been telling you. And now you have to keep in mind that we took away any other God that you might have through force, through fear, through pain, through any means necessary. So now I'm going to give you a God that I'm going to do that in a way that it's going to further me. So I'm going to give you a God that looks like me, so that when you bow down to that God, you're bowing down to me. Because the reality is, and see, this is something that bothered me when I left the church out of frustration, because I wasn't hearing these things. Because the Bible tells us what Jesus looked like when he walked here. The Bible tells us what he's going to look like when he comes back. We have taken that and changed it. We've given your people a God that looks like me, so that you don't have any qualm about bowing down to me. See, because this is the image of God. I don't know of any sin that we've committed that's greater than that one. And we did it with the Bible in our hands when we were beating your ancestors for looking at us eye to eye. And we're quoting to them from the scripture. Even if we allowed them to have their own ministry, which there wasn't many of, because we didn't allow them to read. But if we said, okay, you can have your church. It's my plantation. I'm going to do what I want with it. You can have your church. But then spies were sent. And those spies would stand outside the church, and that man would be beaten, perhaps killed, if he preached anything other than 3 sermons. And those 3 sermons were turn the other cheek, obey your master, and it's going to get better one of these days. God's going to take care of all of it. You're going to be in a happy nation. So put up with what you're putting up with. And we made your people preach that to your people. And it's still being done. It's still being done. Those are the sermons that your people hear. Those sermons are what causes your people to comfort me when I do something that's wrong.
That's good. I heard it.
About to meet the youthful leader of a new generation of hate.
Violence.
And he says his views are only natural. His extreme message of racial separatism may shock you, but as he travels the country, he seems to be gaining traction. ABC's Byron Pitts dared to face off with the young radical.
At first glance, 22-year-old Matt Heimbach is a country music-loving, church-going, have a beer with his buddy's kid who just graduated college, who looks like a friendly enough neighbor.
My name is Matt Heimbach. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, but beware.
I live up in York. Oh, fantastic.
Beneath the big smile and folksy charm is a young man who's been called the future of organized hate in America, and he is on a mission.
You say people of color, Jews, are predators, disproportionately. Jews have a monopoly on suffering, it seems.
He's right.
They deserve a short drop for the tightrope around their neck.
Or not to do is we see everything. You should be able to see.
Do you consider yourself a racist? Sure. So what? I call it natural. Being a racist is natural. Loving one's people is natural.
Yes, Matt loves his people, and he loves this country too. You see, for him, this land is his land.
I would say that my ancestors' sacrifices for this soil have made it mine to a certain extent.
But every American can make that claim. There are blacks, Hispanics, Muslims who shed blood for this nation. So that's not unique to white people.
I would say this nation's founding.
No, that's not a debatable point I just made. That is fact. The fact is, Matt says publicly what many may think privately.
Gay marriage shouldn't happen.
He's tapping into a growing and frightening discontent in America. In the last decade, the number of hate groups has nearly doubled, 602 to 1,007, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Matt was raised in a middle-class Maryland suburb. His parents are school teachers. Matt readily admits they did not raise him to be a racist.
People always say, well, he was raised like that. Well, no, I wasn't. I was raised very, very moderate.
Has it caused tension in the family?
It's caused a lot of tension.
Today, he's estranged from his parents and his siblings.
People harassed my parents, death threats and things like that. Well, they haven't done anything.
In fact, his friend Deanna was the only person from his childhood willing to speak to us on camera.
Matt was always a loner.
She remembers a smart but socially awkward boy trying to find his way and gradually becoming fascinated with race.
You know, we're all writing about like cats and dogs and ponies, and he's over there writing about like the Holocaust.
He loved history and the Bible. His reading of both found his place in the world, a place of superiority. In high school, he took part in Civil War battle reenactments as a Confederate soldier. It's the dark days of slavery, he calls the good old days.
So, in your view of the Civil War, the wrong side won. We'd be a lot better off if the South would have won.
Better off. Better off because today white separatists like Matt have noted U.S. Census trends showing whites will be a minority by 2043.
I see the cataclysmic end to this empire is fast approaching.
Here at Indiana University, Matt and his pal, Ku Klux Klansman and college student Thomas Buell, are gearing up for some campus recruiting. Nearly 15 years ago, at this very same school, a white supremacist, Benjamin Nathaniel Smith, went on a 2-day shooting spree, eventually killing himself.
I'll be damned if I can't come on campus and speak out in defense of what I believe in.
Do you not like white people?
That's a ridiculous question. I can be a member of the Klan and not hate anybody.
But that's hard to reconcile with those posters that appear to call for the lynching of blacks and Jews. So on with their posters and their faith.
Patriot feeling spirits.
Matt and his posse are ready to meet the public outside a campus bookstore, hoping for recruits they find resistance.
Racist, fascist, anti-gay, you don't want to you want to come and you want to piss people off.
Tired of screaming, the students use gaffer tape and water hoses to send Matt and his friends on their way.
When you become the most hated man on campus, that does put a strain on relationships, both romantic and family.
You say that with a smile, the most hated man on campus.
Well, that's one of those weird things where people hate me because I'm kind of like a boogeyman.
How do you live with how the f*** is sleep at night? I got to church.
Part of Matt's success so far is his style. Almost always smiling, always pleasant. He mostly avoids offensive language like the N-word. And we noticed something. Matt spends most of his time with people of like mind. So we wondered what would happen if we brought him to the multicultural Mecca, a place he's never been, New York City, or as he calls it, the belly of the beast.
Everything I want to stop is in New York.
In Harlem.
There's white people out here and they living amongst us and there's no problem.
Right? Curiosity quickly turned into confrontation.
Separatism is racism.
Probably most of your friends are young men who are like yourself.
I want to be around good people that no matter what color you are.
Do we have a right to try it?
All right, so no. Look, why would you want your people to fail? Open diversity, that's how you learn from each other. That's how you get stronger. That's how you build up.
But good friends Aaron and Elijah, we learned later, make the biggest impression.
Well, friends, are you racist?
I love my people. I want to be around people who are like myself.
Why do you want us to be separate?
Because I believe that's the way the society is most productive.
Are you just because you believe that black people are dangerous?
I don't think you guys are dangerous. One of the things that just made me sad was talking to those two young boys.
And that made you sad?
If something were to break out in terms of a race-based conflict, there are so many that are within the pro-white movement who would say that those young boys basically would be targets.
They should be killed.
Yeah.
Killed by those more radical than that because of the color of their skin. See, when you dig a little deeper, you learn that separation of the races will not be sufficient. Met believes only an all-out race war and extermination campaign will solve society's problems.
Don't you see how your path eventually leads to violence? God willing, it won't, but some things are worth fighting for.
The hypocrisy that we've seen for centuries is laughable, especially when you hear these people talk about how they fear for their lives or how everyone is such a threat to them. But those who have been terrorizing everyone else on every continent are truly reprobates because they can't see the wickedness of their own hearts.
There's one tiny human colony. Everyone here works for a corporation that is mining.
This is why we're here. It's what pays for the whole party. Now those savages are threatening our whole operation.
You see, even though they are the ones who have a history of killing, stealing, and destroying everything in their path, in their minds, everyone else is the problem and needs to be killed or exterminated.
So right now, I am studying the civil rights movement, and I've been seeing a lot of graphic pictures of all these bombed churches in Alabama during the 50s and 60s. If you're not aware, like during the 50s and 60s, these white segregationists bombed like about 40 or 50 churches, black churches, African American churches during the 60s and 70s, and it's so appalling. Like at one level, I see the difference between religion of white segregationists, whites religion, and blacks religion in Alabama. And it's like for whites in the South, because I lived in Alabama for a couple of years, it's still the same. Like for whites, religion is very cosmetic. It's just a game for whites in the South. Whereas religion is something real and substantial for blacks in the South. It's very real. Like that's the source of life, the source of healing, the source of activism is the church for African Americans in the South. Whereas for whites, it's just cosmetic. It's fake. Religion, Christianity in general is fake to drive to whites. But anyway, I'm also an advocate for Christian minorities in Muslim countries, and seeing the comparison is amazing. Like seeing these bombed churches in the South, in Alabama during the 50s and 60s is no different than seeing bombed churches in Muslim countries. These Christian minorities were bombed by fundamentalists, Islamic fundamentalists. So it's funny because a lot of people in Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, they're so anti-Muslim and so upset about Islamic fundamentalists, whatever. But at the same time, they are the ones that are acting just like the terrorists. These white segregationists, these whites in Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi, they are just like the Islamic terrorists. Because they're bombing churches, they're treating African Americans like they're the Islamic terrorists, treating African Americans like those Christian minorities in Muslim countries. So just seeing the comparison of seeing bombed churches, bombed black churches in Alabama during the 50s and 60s, and comparing bombed churches in like Pakistan and Egypt. They're the same. It's like whites in Alabama are Muslim terrorists.
White violence don't count.
Notice how this wicked nation loves to point out everybody else's faults, but not their own faults. We talk about the violence of Islam as a whole, but they get angry if you even mention Christian violence throughout history and throughout the world. They even like to lump every group together, whether it's racial or religious, but not their own selves. These are the classic traits of a reprobate mind.
Christian terror
increasing in the U.S. and worldwide, seen from the day we get put on. It's good. Leave it on, Josh. Where you going off? You gotta say goodbye, right? You want to watch a few minutes of this? It's probably pretty good.
So
Wow.
we understand. See, that's the hypocrisy of people in this land.
That's right. Come on.
They want, a lot of times, they want to deflect when their evil is brought up and talk about other people trying to hurt them. But when you talk about what they have done historically and still do, that's in the past. We got to come together.
Oh, yeah.
When coming together has never solved any problems.
That's right.
That makes the problem worse. Now, coming together in truth helps, because
It's going to say that truth is going to set people free.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't have truth, you're going to stay just where you are in that vicious cycle like you heard today on these tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll never change for you. Until you come out and admit that you're a Hebrew, the tribes, and this is why that you're being defrauded in America and kept down, you are missing the great awakening of the Hebrews that are waking up all over the world, right, Mary, Tony?
Yeah.
So wake up, Black America, Hispanics, wake up. It's your time now. It's your time to take your stand in this earth.
So, I think, so until our next Bible study, we say shalom.
Shalom.